In 1994, a murder suspect walked into a police interrogation room. The detective said almost nothing. No accusations, no pressure, no dramatic table slamming. He simply asked one question, and then went quiet. The silence stretched for 43 seconds. The suspect filled every one of them. He confessed to everything. The detective had not spoken a single additional word. Here is what nobody tells you about that story. The silence was not an accident. It was a technique, ancient, precise, and devastatingly effective. And right now, without knowing it, you are probably on the wrong side of it every single day. So the question is this: if silence is the most powerful communication tool ever discovered, why has no one taught you how to use it? Welcome to the Mind Shadow. This channel exists for one reason: to hand you the knowledge that moves quietly through the world. The knowledge most people never encounter. Today, that knowledge is silence. Not the passive kind, not the awkward kind that makes your palms sweat at dinner. The deliberate, engineered kind that shifts power in a room without a single word being spoken. What you are about to learn is used by elite negotiators, seasoned interrogators, and the most socially intelligent people you will ever meet. And once you understand it, you will never hear a conversation the same way again. You will start to see the architecture beneath every exchange: who is holding power, who is surrendering it, and exactly how it is being transferred. Let's go. Every skilled interrogator learns the same foundational truth on their first day of training. Silence creates pressure, and pressure makes people talk. The technique has a name inside professional circles. It is called the strategic pause, and it is not subtle. When a detective goes quiet after a question, something physiological happens inside the person across the table. Their nervous system reads the silence as a threat signal. Because silence, in the context of confrontation, registers in the brain the same way a predator's stillness does. It means something is coming. So the body responds. Cortisol rises, anxiety spikes, and the mind scrambles for a way to end the discomfort. The easiest way to end discomfort is to speak. This is not a theory. In 2010, researchers at the University of Amsterdam studied the social dynamics of conversational silence. They found that gaps as short as 4 seconds in a conversation produced measurable spikes in self-reported anxiety and social discomfort. 4 seconds. That is nothing. And yet, it is enough to make most people abandon their position, overshare personal information, or concede a negotiation point they had no intention of surrendering. Think about every job negotiation you have ever had. Every time you were offered a salary and immediately said something, anything, to fill the pause before they could respond. You were handing over leverage in real time. The detective in 1994 understood this. He offered nothing. He simply held the silence like a weapon, steady and patient, and waited for the other person to collapse under its weight. Here is where it gets deeper. The discomfort of silence is not random. It is hardwired into you at a neurological level that predates modern civilization by hundreds of thousands of years. Your brain evolved in small tribal groups where social rejection meant death. Exclusion from the group was not a metaphor for suffering. It was literal extinction. And silence from other members of the tribe was one of the earliest signals of that exclusion. So when silence enters a conversation, your prefrontal cortex, the rational decision maker, begins to lose its grip. The amygdala activates. Fight, flight, or appease. Most people, in a social context, choose appease. They talk, they explain themselves, they justify, they fill the void. And here is the dark truth. Every word they produce in that anxious state is pure intelligence for whoever is listening. Researchers call this phenomenon social pressure leakage. When silence activates threat responses, people reveal their actual priorities, their real fears, their true bottom lines. Not because they are weak, because the evolutionary circuitry driving the behavior is millions of years older than their conscious strategy. Chris Voss, former FBI hostage negotiator and author of Never Split the Difference, built an entire negotiation philosophy around this principle. He calls it tactical empathy combined with deliberate silence. You acknowledge the other person's emotion, you ask a calibrated question, and then you say absolutely nothing. You let the silence do the excavating for you. He used this in life or death hostage situations. And it worked, repeatedly. Because human neurology does not change based on the stakes of the conversation. The same mechanism that breaks a suspect in interrogation will make your opponent in a boardroom reveal exactly what they are afraid of losing. Now understand, this is already being used against you. Not by interrogators, by people in your everyday life. The colleague who delivers bad news and then says nothing, waiting for you to absorb blame. The partner who withdraws and stays quiet, knowing your anxiety will make you apologize for things you did not do. The salesperson who quotes a price and then physically leans back and closes their mouth because they have been trained to let the silence sell. Every one of these is a deliberate application of the same psychological mechanism. The question is, what do you do when you recognize it? First, learn to sit in discomfort. This is the foundational skill. Most people have never practiced tolerating silence in a high-pressure conversation. Start small. When someone asks you a question that carries weight, a negotiation, a confrontation, a request, pause before you respond. 2 seconds, 3. Let the rhythm break. You will feel the pull to fill it. Resist that pull. Second, reflect silence back. When someone makes an offer or a statement that puts you on the defensive, instead of countering immediately, meet them with quiet. Steady eye contact, a neutral expression. Let them experience the very pressure they were attempting to create in you. Often, they will begin to adjust their own position without you saying a word. Third, use silence as a signal of confidence. Because here is the social reality. The person in any room most comfortable with silence is perceived as the most powerful. It is counterintuitive. But calm silence reads as certainty, and certainty reads as authority. When you talk to fill space, you signal anxiety. When you hold space without speaking, you signal that you have nothing to prove. That is not a trick. That is the truth of how social dominance actually operates. Now here is the part of the story that reframes everything. Remember the detective. Remember the 43 seconds. You assumed the silence was a tactic to break the suspect, and it was. But here is what I did not tell you. The detective was not even certain the suspect was guilty. He had circumstantial evidence and a gut feeling. The confession came entirely from the suspect's own anxiety. The silence did not reveal the truth. It created the conditions for the truth to surface on its own. That is the revelation. Silence does not extract information. It creates a psychological vacuum, and people fill vacuums with whatever is most present in their minds: their guilt, their fear, their desire, their actual position. This means that silence is not just a tactic for getting answers. It is a diagnostic tool. What someone says to fill your silence tells you more about them than any direct question ever could. The person who overjustifies reveals their insecurity. The person who deflects reveals their evasion. The person who immediately concedes reveals what they were afraid of losing all along. You do not need to interrogate anyone. You do not need to manipulate anyone. You simply need to speak less and listen to what the silence pulls forward. The most intelligent people in any room are rarely the loudest. They are the ones who ask one precise question, go quiet, and let the entire conversation come to them. The art of saying nothing is not about being cold. It is not about being distant or withholding. It is about understanding that every word you speak costs you something, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer a conversation is the space to breathe. Practice it this week. One conversation. One deliberate pause where you would normally rush to fill the silence. Watch what happens. Watch what the other person gives you. If this landed for you, leave a like. It tells the algorithm that this kind of content matters, and it keeps this channel alive. Subscribe if you want to keep going deeper. Every week, we go somewhere most people are not willing to look. And if you want to know what else moves silently through the world of influence and human behavior, the next video is already waiting for you. I'll see you in the shadows.